So this guy on Twitter, his handle is his display name is Mr. Weeks. Everything is linked in our show notes as always. So if you want to go see the Mark Zuckerberg statue or I guess Donna statue or tweets like this, you can go find them there. But he's a guy who works as a behavioral therapist now, but for a period of time in New York, he was working as a nanny for a very wealthy family. And that wealthy family happened to have a child of the same age as Barron Trump, who went to school with Barron Trump. And it starts out, the beginning of this starts out with a piece that was posted by someone named Molly Ploufkins on Twitter, who explains with a link that Trump, his son Barron, and his best friend try to rival Harris's brat Gen Z appeal. So we can thank Barron for things like the Aiden Ross streaming. Also, Barron and his friend are basically incels.
Unsurprising.
So they're trying to get out the young incel vote, which is what I think made Mr. Weeks this sort of snap, if you will, and be like, I'm going to fucking say something. He had tweeted about Barron previously in 2020. He tweeted about how Barron got COVID and they wanted him to just go to school anyway. So he's kind of been spilling the tea about Barron for years, but because he worked in the capacity of a nanny, he didn't work directly for the Trumps. He doesn't have an NDA, and he also isn't breaking any HIPAA laws by saying this. So he quote tweets this Molly Ploufkin's Gen Z vote thing and says, haha, I literally saw Barron slap the fuck out of his nanny in Central Park after school. And he also posted a picture of him and Barron later on in the day. Then we find out Barron is a troubled child.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of incidences of him displaying incredibly antisocial behavior as a kid. Just to name a few, apparently when Barron was really, really pissed off and wanted other kids to leave him alone, he would shit his pants.
Wild.
It's like almost the worst thing on this list.
Yeah.
Because, that is it's just I don't really know about this one, but this has to be on those lists, on the list of things that psychopathic children do.
Hundo P. I would say, the violent behavior is a little disturbing, but sometimes young men and young women can be very weird and violent in their childhood and do some fucked up shit.
But also soiling yourself intentionally feels
It's
like
on another level, man. It's on another level. That's if I heard about, oh, my son's having a lot of trouble at school, he's wilding out, he's pushing tables over and he pulled a knife on someone or whatever, I'd be like, wow, that sounds rough. But I can see how you'd get through that. If it was oh, he's soiling himself when he gets angry, I'd be like, that needs to be looked at quite
well, it
seriously.
evokes an image of Nicholas Cruz picking at his hemorrhoids in prison so then he can write on the walls with the blood of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
There's something there's something so socially unacceptable about shitting your pants on accident isn't great.
Mm-hmm.
But intentionally soiling yourself to alienate other people shows a level of intention that's crazy. And also the idea that if he must, this boy can shit on command.
Wild.
Really wild. In 2015, around the time that his dad was about to announce his candidacy, Barron attacked his father at his school Christmas show, physically attacked him, which is really funny to think about, but it's also giving Oedipus complex, but it's also just can you imagine your dad as this old man and tangling with him?
What insane. And what's the thing they say that up until that point, up until 2015, Trump had never attended any of Barron's school events. And it was what changed in 2015? It's oh yeah, he was beginning to like, look and feel and behave like a normal human being who has, like, a relationship with his children in the run up to the election.
Yeah. It is really, like, sad and strange, and there's some sadness to all this.
Yeah.
So Barron has killed 2 birds, 3 rabbits, and 1 dog. The people found out he killed the rabbit because he made a video of it and showed it to his classmates. And I have to ask, is that possibly why Trump doesn't have pets?
Yeah. He doesn't seem like a pet guy anyway, like, because
Sure.
to love an animal is to have a degree of, like, compassion and selflessness, and he's incapable of doing that. But if there were pets in the house, I'm sure he would allow it for the children if he had, like, nothing to do with it.
Yeah, like, he seems like someone who's like, "I don't want hair on my clothes." Like, when people have reasons like that for why they don't want a pet, I'm always like, "Are you okay?"
Mhm.
Like, of course, no. Do I like walking around with, like, fur all over me? No.
Mhm.
Wags used to be the biggest offender. Like, I'd be walking around like, I couldn't get the hair off my clothes, and it travels through the air. And I'm hitting that Dyson every day, and it's still an unmaintainable thing. So, anyway, I just don't think that's a very good reason for not wanting a pet. I don't want hair around. Okay. So, Barron, I guess, had a meltdown when he found out that he was not even in the top 10 richest students at school,
That's really funny.
because he always liked to walk around bragging that he was the wealthiest kid there. Apparently, he's attacked people with a knife multiple times. And once again, I just want to reiterate that these are not our unique thoughts. We are repeating what was written on a Twitter account that has not been shut down. And it's kind of similar to the Noel Casler thing, the guy who worked on The Apprentice,
Mhm.
who is like, I'm not going to get a lawsuit because it's true. And they would have to prove that it's not true.
Mhm.
And no one wants to do discovery regarding something like this.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there's also confirmation of this from Aubrey O'Day, who says that back when she was dating Don Jr., and she said this back in 2016, back when she was dating Don Jr., he used to text her about Barron being like a sick asshole, are the words that she censored, and that he once threw a plate of food at a flight attendant because he didn't like what was put in front of him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then isn't he asked, like, "What do you think his problem is?" And he just said he's spoiled beyond belief.
Well, I did notice this guy has a very sort of diplomatic way of approaching it, where I think most educators, they don't like to throw the baby out with the bathwater
Mhm.
and say, like, no, the kid's a lost cause. Like, there's just something in the DNA of a good teacher where they don't do that. And so I think some people were saying, like, some people who were trying to shut him down were saying that, but you're saying he's a bad kid. And he's like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm saying that, like, I think that he's had like a very challenging childhood that has led him to be troubled.
Yeah.
There also was all this conversation that was driving me nuts under these threads where there was this sort of certainty around Barron being autistic.
Right, there was a lot of that stuff because at some point in the thread, he mentions that he was very quiet to the point of being, like, nonverbal, and in particular, some of the behavioral stuff. People were saying, "Oh, this is really common in kids who have, like, undiagnosed autism."
But also, like, his mom is quiet.
Yeah, true. True, 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 and, like,
Like,
I
he could just be his mother's son where it's like he's maybe not as likely to speak, but I mean, there was that anecdote from those podcasters that went and had dinner with him. They were, like, older conservative guys, and they were like, "Barron was a fucking riot." Like, he talked the whole dinner, like, and take that for what you will, but they were very expressive of what a personality Barron was and how surprising it was.
Mm.
So, I kind of resent the notion that, like, oh, all of these things stacked up together imply that he's autistic. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I would agree. I think it's a very dangerous thing to do as well.
Well, because like, a lot of these stories do have a diagnosis in common, and it's not autism.
Sociopathy,
Antisocial, yeah.
antisocial. Yeah.
Like, killing animals, like, shitting yourself to get other people away from you, attacking people with knives, attacking your own elderly father with a knife, slapping your nanny, the
Mm,
ego of having the meltdown about not being the top 10 richest kid at school, like, this is all stuff that leads to one diagnosis, and I don't know if that being autism.
mm,
So I just thought that was, like, a weird bend that the conversation kept taking, but Mr. Weeks did retweet a couple tweets that sort of backed up that idea, but, you know and I do know that anger can be very common in people that are undiagnosed because, like, it's very frustrating
mhm,
to live your life, like, fundamentally misunderstood and not having your needs met, but, yeah, I just thought that was a weird twist to the way this was explained, but what do you think of Barron being someone who I think has been fairly protected, being on the chopping block now?
how old is he now?
18.
Oh, listen, if he's a his father is a very public figure. We were all sort of supposed to give him a free pass, which I totally get during his childhood because he was a child.
And, like, people used to call Chelsea Clinton ugly, like,
Yes.
conversationally all the time, and
Yes.
so we've seen presidents' kids not get a fair shake. There is often more decency from the Democrats when it comes to people's children.
Yeah. I mean, was it like Sasha O'Malaya who was smoking a cigarette at Coachella or something that got like news for days and days and days and days?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, both girls I think casually smoke. Maybe I don't know how casual it is, but they both smoke, which obviously I support.
Big time. Big time.
But yeah, no, it's not uncommon if your, parent smokes that you might pick it up, and it's also not uncommon that if you're going through the stress of being the president's child that you might smoke. I would say with Barron, the thing here is like he's actively working on getting out the incel vote for his father. They're motivating the worst part of Reddit to like actually leave their cave, wipe the crumbs off, like,
Mm.
and vote.
Yeah, I find it really difficult to have like any kind of rational, objective opinion on this kind of stuff because I find Trump and his family to be just like such dangerous individuals and such huge threats to Western democracy that I think like the pearl clutching about like whether or not it's ethical to talk about his son like should get in the bin. Fuck the incels. I think it's wild that he's
Fuck the
being
incels.
fuck
Yeah.
them. I mean, maybe, but don't fuck them. Give them what they want.
Right.
I, I don't find him to be a particularly charismatic person, but I was thinking when you were talking about the incel vote and about the Baron of it all and his like being bummed out about not being the richest kid in school, I was like, this motherfucker is giving me Elliot Rogers.
Who's that again?
He was he was that shooter incel who killed a lot of sorority girls and then was like driving around, was it like Santa Monica,
Oh,
like
was it the
shooting.
University of the Isla Vista killings?
Yeah, and he made that awful like manifesto video where he was like, by the time you see this, look at them walking around. They have no idea what I'm gonna do to them, in the like
He
least
looks
threatening
like
way.
Barron a little bit.
Yeah, I'm also it's wild how much Trump's genetics like really like they put their whole Trumpussy into making Barron look like a young Trump.
Dude, it's crazy, right?
It's like
Like,
like side by side, he looks like young Trump.
well, Barron is easily his most naturally beautiful child. I'll say that.
Mm.
Like, Barron is, you know,
Cheekbones.
I saw someone say, "Oh, Barron's like it was like a full-blown adult who'd be like, "Barron's hot." And I was like, calm down. It's
Oh,
18 as of, like, 6 months ago, I think.
yeah.
You're a little too maybe a little bit older than me to be talking about him like that, but no, it is true. He's a attractive young boy, you know? And
Have you seen Barron fan cams on TikTok? Because I have.
I don't think I have.
Gross.
I can see them being thirsty for him, though.
Oh, 100%. There are a subset of very horny people who like really odd and terrible people. I don't know if he's a terrible person. This is a pretty damning account of what he's like, though. It wouldn't
I
surprise
would
me.
say he's probably a terrible
I
person.
think it's very likely. It's more likely that he is than he isn't, right? Given his environment, how could he not be a terrible person?
Right, like, it's even without the animal killings and the shitting the pants and everything else, it's just very unlikely that people with at least, kids from that type of money, if they're not minded, are very they stand a high likelihood. He also says Melania is a checked out alcoholic, that at
Oh,
every function
100%.
she went to, like, she always had her special juice.
100%. I don't understand how a child could get out of that unscathed. A child who at his probably most crucial phase of development had not only lived in an environment for the entirety of his childhood where his mother and father were in a marriage of convenience, a transactional marriage where there was probably little to no love in that home, where his father is notably probably absent for a lot of the time and doesn't have any real sort of paternal instincts or favorability towards that child. I find it very difficult to believe that Trump is an affectionate person. I know he's not an understanding person, he's not a listening person. Literal, like, unimaginable wealth at your fingertips. And I think a level of complete, like, isolation from what society or the world is like. I just keep thinking about that driving around with Barron in the back of the car, Melania blank space video of like a window into their life. Just like absolute silence and coldness and detachment, and then being like thrust into a very, very public light, and then having all of this other shit swirling around. Like, you could not escape that unscathed. And it's like, yeah, there's no way. He just like this kid never had a chance to be anything other than terrible, really.
I know, and I don't think that it was a completely uncommon sort of, like, liberal fantasy that, like, Barron secretly somehow deep down knew his dad was full of shit,
Mhm.
but historically, based on the rest of the family, I don't know how tethered that could have ever been.
Yeah.
Like, his brothers and sister are terrible sisters, I guess. Even I forget about Tiffany. But, I mean, like, the fact that Tiffany had the best chance of all of them and is still an asshole
Mhm.
is, yeah, a good indicator that Barron really, really, really didn't have a chance. But who knows? Yeah, I mean, I think also what was maybe Barron's not full of it, is that Trump was a Democrat for years. Like, I don't even know if he really believes what he is selling
No, of course he doesn't. He was a Democrat because it was like, convenient to be.
in New York,
And
right?
he was, somewhat like, possibly friendly with the Clintons. This is not a person who has any real I don't think he has any real political anything. Like, I think he's such a amorphous, immoral human being that, like, to be engaged enough politically to really pick a side, I don't see it. Like, I do not see it.
Yeah, I don't think he has beliefs at all.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's trying to say, like, "I've been feeling Christian lately." Like, he's been, like, saying stuff like that, and it's like, "Okay." Like, famously never been Christian, and also we've seen your wife's Christmas decorations. Those are not made with Jesus in mind. But, yeah, did you see the clip of him from yesterday? We record this on Sundays, you guys, of him saying, "A lot of people think Kamala's more beautiful than me." I think I'm really beautiful. Have you seen that? Where he's like, "I'm very beautiful. I'm a very handsome man." Like, and he's, like, going on about how he's better looking than Kamala.
Oh, okay.
He has a
No.
crush on her.
Well, I mean, we haven't talked about the fucking mental thing that happened, which was him going on X for a Spaces discussion with Elon Musk.
I listened to it.
Me too. I did. I only listened to like maybe 15 minutes and then we went to sleep because it took so long to get started because Elon was saying that they were having a massive like DOS attack and I was like, well, maybe you shouldn't have fired your fucking engineers, you degenerate.
I saw that, yeah. It was nice to see you pop up on the timeline, but also that's not true.
No,
Like, what was he did happen? Like, was he, like, doing lines or something?
I don't know. I have a funny feeling that their tech is not good enough to support a volume of more than 5,000 people on like listening to a space. I think like the tech probably did play a part of it. I don't think it was a targeted DOS attack because like no one really knew it was happening. Also, oh, I did a fun thing earlier. So like with this, X spaces thing that happened that was very boring and just Trump slurring and being incoherent and Elon pretending that he's cleverer than he is and just it's just everything you thought it was going to be if you missed it. It was the return of Donald Trump being on Twitter or X. And so I was really curious to see how much he had used it since being like, reinstated and
Not at
being
all,
back.
right?
I ran the numbers, Molly Maclear, and I have them here for you. I have the results of the analytics that I did earlier. I took a period of the 16th of August to, no, not the 16th, the 12th of August to today or whatever. And there have been 24 posts that Trump has done on X since the 12th. And I would warrant, having looked at them, that they are not posts that Trump has himself written, just based on the way that we know that he communicates on social media. There are like full sentences with full stops. That's like it's the bare minimum, and they very much are like sharing a campaign video or sharing a URL. Do you want to
Yeah,
hazard a
I know there
guess?
was a lot the day of, but anytime I've gone to check it yeah, keep going.
Just 24. I looked at the same time period to see how many posts he had done on Truth Social for the same time period. And I did include his retruths, which would be retweets. And there was just this one day where he just kept posting the URL to his campaign website and he posted it 6 times in a row. Do you want to have a guess in the same period? If we use 24 as the X benchmark?
For is this from, like, January 6th to
Oh no,
or
this is like the same period on Truth Social as the same period that he's
oh,
been on X. So like 6 days. So 24 posts in 6 days on X. How many posts on Truth Social in that same amount of time?
320.
I mean, close. It was 203 posts in the same time period, which is approximately one post every 1.4 hours.
Martha, he's Fiona Harvey, baby reindeer, and they're about as coherent as well, sent from my iPhone.
Yeah, I mean, they are so unhinged. Also, I wanted to send you the thing that makes me laugh every time, and I don't know why I don't do it, is the ads that run on Truth Social when you're in feed. So as I was counting them up, it was like every three was an ad, and it was like my pillow, my pillow, my pillow, my pillow, my pillow, my pillow, and then, or it'll be like a to some like fucking bunker. I did see this ad, which I'm sending you now, which was a sponsored truth. Even the language is really
It's
funny.
so funny. Trumpomania flags. Oh, yes, we've got a collab with the Hulk. How thrilling for everyone, Hulk Hogan and yep,
It's Hulk Hogan wearing a MAGA bandana, the outline of Hulk Hogan, and not even a particularly good one. And it
no, it's
says
awful.
you can either
It's
have it
like
in
he doesn't
red with
have
yellow. Sorry.
it's like he doesn't have rights to his own image. That's what
Yeah.
it looks like.
Yeah. It's in you can have it with red with yellow, or you can have it with yellow with red, and it says Trump 20, Vance 24. And it's a flag you can have.
Doesn't it seem like the way that Trump 20, Vance 24 is like Doesn't it look like that's who's like Trump ran in 20, Vance ran in 24.
It's really not clear, right? Because, like, it looks like Vance has 4 more points than Trump. Like, it does make sense as an artifact to me.
No, it doesn't, but God, I mean, do I wish I could buy one of these without giving to the worst people ever, because I feel like this is a very unique piece of merchandise.
It really is.
Like, how do you get better than this?
I don't know if you can.
But yeah, I mean, I was confused by him being back on Twitter, not because, like, I don't know why Elon would want that or why Trump wouldn't want the attention. I'm not dense, but sometimes, but not here. But I thought he had a pretty serious exclusivity deal with True Social.
Mhm. I mean, doesn't he own it?
I think he's at least part owner. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know if he owns it outright, but I wonder if Elon offered to buy him out.
Or just appealed to his ego and told him that he would reach, like, loads of people, it'd be a great fundraising opportunity. And I think in Trump's mind, like, thinks that he's a magnanimous creature and he's, like, doing Elon a favor, which in a way, I mean, he really is. Like, people are leaving that platform in droves. I don't know. I don't know if Trump would take money for that, but I think it might be something that maybe an advisor would whisper in his ear and say, like, "Oh, this is such a great opportunity." And you'll be really helping them out and, like, he'll feel like he's doing a good thing. I don't know. He strikes me as a man who believes he's magnanimous, is what I'm
Okay,
saying.
so I think part of his deal with Truth is that he has agreed to, so there was a filing that with the federal trade people or whatever, that Trump has to wait 6 hours after posting on Truth Social to tweet or put it on any other platform, which is probably interesting. Yeah. There's a there's
Hmm.
a okay, Trump looking, this is from Rolling Stone. Trump looks to ditch his own social media site. When Trump first founded Trump Media and Technology Group, he agreed to a social media exclusivity term that required him to first channel any and all social media communications to his Truth Social account for 6 hours before posting his content to other platforms. Since late last year, former President Trump has informed several people close to him that he doesn't want to re up with the exclusivity agreement with his social media company, Truth Social. Two sources familiar with the matter tell Rolling Stone there's not going to be a need for that, is how one of the sources recalls Trump describing his soon to expire contractual obligation. So I guess this is was going to be up in June of maybe 2023.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think that his ego will allow him to be back on Twitter fully as he once was.
No,
I have a funny feeling he would, like, I think he really enjoys the echo chamber. Not that he would be in the comments section in on X, but, like, I think he really enjoys the echo chamber nature of his own walled garden.
he does. God, I'm loving Tim Walz, I got to tell you. Loving it.
Oh,
Mind your own damn business.
yeah. Yeah, he's a great pick. Very very solid and very likable and filled with good sound bites.
Yes, he's very, the way that he speaks is perfect
Mhm.
for what we need. Yeah, I
Mhm.
do. I think he communicates in a way that is very relatable to a lot of people. Good for him.
Good for him.
Do you see that people are like, they looked into his investments to see like what the guy was worth on paper? And did you know that he owns no property. He lives in the governor's mansion, sold his house when he was elected governor, and he only has $300,000 saved for retirement, which people are all up in arms about. Like, the guy owns no stock, he has no investments whatsoever. People are up in arms about that because for his age, that is sort of an unseemly number of dollars to have put away, but I'm like, that's very American.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The idea of having, like, 2.5 million in the bank to retire is not feasible. Even people were saying, like, even 1.5 million would be, like, a tight fixed income, and I'm like, "But, people don't get to retire like that anymore." Like,
No.
now you retire at, like, 70, and you're lucky if you get 10 years.
Yeah.
So, like, to assume that people are spending over $100,000 a year feels like a wild number to me.
Yeah, I agree. Dare to
Um,
dream as a millennial with no who doesn't own property and has no real pension for retirement.
no.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I it'll be great if and when I get to retirement age, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do, honestly. The whole
Yeah, I
thing
have a
makes me wanna
better
take a
chance
nap.
of, like, not a better chance. I think it's more likely that I will inherit property before I choose to buy another piece of property.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a lot of
100%.
money.
It is. It really
And
is.
it well, like, more than money, it's just a constant job to own a house. It's like you're always running that damn house.
Mhm.